by her own admission, has been in complete denial when it comes to grief and loss. Ever since her husband Desmond Wilcox died 20 years ago, she has locked away all her memories and emotions behind the door of a barn at her Hampshire home, unable to face the huge treasure trove of mementos, from letters and diaries to cassette tapes. And my barn is full of things that I really can't bear to open up because they're about my late husband and it would be too painful, said the 80-year-old journalist and presenter, who also admits to a fingers and ears attitude toward. But confronted with interviewing people about bereavement following a year of unprecedented loss, Esther decided that she needed to act. It was extremely tough to decide to face something that I suppose I had to face 20 years ago, but by way of coping, I'd shut the door up. To open the door was what I worried about. The couple had 3 children together, Miriam, Rebecca, and Josh, before Desmond died from heart disease in September 2000, aged 69. In her poignant documentary, Living with Grief on Channel 5 tonight, Esther talks to Mandy, 61, who lost her husband Larry to COVID, after they were both treated for the virus in separate wards of the same. Mandy tells Esther, "I told him, I've got you an ambulance, darling. I'm sorry I can't save your life because I love you, darling." I put my hand on his shoulder and I never saw him again. How do you just say goodbye and never see someone ever again? Esther, who founded the charities ChildLine and the Silver Line, believes there should be a grief line for people like Mandy as well as an annual bank holiday to mark a National Day of Remembrance for victims of the pandemic. She says, "Boris has said we will celebrate the heroes of COVID, but what I want is a day of rest, a holiday created in which all of us stop what we are doing and pay tribute to the people we've." Esther, who admits she rarely cries, is visibly moved as she hears experiences of heartbreaking grief from. Among them are 26-year-old Durone, whose brother Aaron was murdered aged 24 when Durone was just 11, and Gary, 59, who lost his wife Joy to sepsis when she was just 41. She also speaks to 23-year-old Amber, whose mom died of a heart attack 4 years ago, and Joy, 55, who suffered a devastating ordeal when her parents attempted suicide after her father was given a diagnosis of terminal. Her father's overdose took his life, then her surviving elderly mother endured a murder trial before finally being found. And Lucy Hurd, whose toddler Jack drowned in a pond just 2 weeks before his 2nd birthday in 2010, says she found her chat with Esther to be a healer. Lucy, 46, of Wokingham, Berks, says, "It was a beautiful sunny day in August and I took a phone call. I got Jack settled doing some drawing and I went back to my phone call. It wasn't very long, about 3 minutes. Then I turned around and Jack wasn't there and the back door was open. I was calling him and I went outside and the dog was sat up by the pond. I ran up to the pond and he was face down. I got him out and tried to I remember screaming for help." But she adds, "At the hospital the emergency director put her hand on my shoulder and she said, 'Lucy, I'm so sorry, there's nothing else we can.' That's when my heart broke into a million pieces and that's the day that I died. It changed my life and my family's life." Just 12 weeks after Jack's death, Lucy started campaigning for bereavement leave rights after realizing some people have to return to work immediately after. While campaigning she also raised her 2 children, Josh, now 24, and Elle, 19. Josh is now a lifeguard, working at a leisure center and school, determined to prevent the kind of tragedy that Jack's law, making paid parental bereavement leave a legal right, finally came into force in April last. Lucy says, "Jack was the little boy who blew kisses to the world. He was the boy in the trolley in the Tesco aisle who would say hello. He was a beautiful little boy and everything I've done has been for Jack." In the documentary, Esther and Lucy find common ground over staying with their loved ones after they had died. "It's almost that they're still there, isn't it?" says Esther. "I stayed with my husband as long as I felt he was still there." Esther says she has now tackled her fears and sorted through Desmond's things. "My barn is now available for my grandchildren, when they're allowed to visit." Esther Rantzen, Living with Grief is on tonight on Channel 5 at 10.